everybody, it's Claire here from Sewn by Claire, and today I want to bring a new dressmaking pattern to you, and that is the Fabric Godmother Peony Dress. Now, I saw this dress on Fabric Godmother's website and Instagram page and really fell in love with the design of it and the simplicity of it, but also the fit seemed to be really nice on the models that I saw wearing, or the sewists that I saw who'd made it, and so I put it on my to-do list. And just recently I had the opportunity to need an anniversary dress. It's going to be my 10th wedding anniversary this weekend, and also a Christmas dress, and I thought that this would do the trick just nicely. So I've actually made it up twice, straight after each other, because I just love the first one so much that I just knew I would want more than one, and I got some fabric earmarked, so I just went ahead and went straight for it. So it's actually the dress that I'm wearing now and the one that's on the mannequin. So the one that I'm wearing now, I'm wearing now then, is in a viscose linen fabric in this lovely bright floral design here. And then the one that's on the mannequin is a slightly heavier weight. That's done in a needlecord fabric, and I'll do a close-up of the fabric to show you that. Both of them have worked out equally well, and I think that both of them are going to be an absolute delight to wear. So let me just show you. This is the line drawing for the design, just so that you can see that. So we've got darts at the waist and at the bust, and on the skirt as well, and then on the back on both sides, but then also on the shoulders. And then we've also got these puff sleeves here, which give this lovely drama on the edge here, and they've actually got little shoulder puffs in there. I've done mine in silk organza, just to lift those shoulders, just so that they actually do hold their shape much better. The skirt is slightly A-line, and I have narrowed mine slightly, but I'll talk about that when we're doing that. And then it's got the ruffle on the bottom should you wish, or it comes without. And I must say, yeah, this is it, Fabric Godmother, and it's the peony dress. It's down as a level 2 out of 4. And I had this printed by Fabric Godmother before she posted it out to me. So if you are not a fan of having PDF patterns, then you can write to her and she will print it out for you. And then it's 3 pages, 3 big sheets of paper in there. And when I have my patterns printed, I print out all of the sizes. This comes from a size 6 to a size 30. And I think that'll probably be a UK size 6 to a 30. And I print them all out, and then I trace off the pattern I need, because I've found that over the years my shape changes, and then obviously I want to have a different size printed out, or if I've cut it out already and then I haven't got that. So I always print out all of the copies first and use that as a master, and just trace off the patterns I want and the grading that I need to do. Now, I did make a twirl first for this, and I just twirled the bodice without the sleeves in, and I just made up the darts, and then I just hand tacked a zip in the back in order just to have a fit. And according to my measurements, I should have been a 16 shoulder and bust, and then an 18 on the waist. So I took that in mind, and that's what I made my twirl to be. I also did notice that I needed a 1-inch full bust adjustment, so I was slightly just down to that size 16 on the full bust. So I did that alteration. I just added ½ an inch to the half pattern, which then gave me 1 inch overall extra room just along this line here. And I think that's worked really well, and I'm quite happy with that. On the first dress, that was the only change that I made, other than I made the bottom tier 1 inch shorter, because it's drafted for a 5'6" person and I'm 5'4". So I just shortened that by 1 inch just to counter that slightly. I didn't feel I needed to alter the waist at all. It sits above my natural waist, like, excuse me a moment. So the waistline on here sits just above my natural waist. So there's the seam line just here, and then my natural waist is here. So it's about an inch higher than my natural waist. But I like that cut on me. I think it is very flattering because it comes into that narrowest part before then it starts to flare out, which I quite like. I did also, so I twirled it first in order to check the fit, did the bodice, and I just thought there was just quite a little bit of room in there. Rechecked my measurements again, and I was 16 to 18, but when I looked at the finished garment measurements, which were included within the pattern, then I felt there was quite a lot of ease there, and I wasn't sure I wanted quite so much. The other thing was that the seam allowance is a nice generous 1.5 centimetres on this pattern throughout the whole thing. So again, I knew I'd got that little bit of insurance on those seam lines that I could either take it in or let it out, depending on what I needed to do. More in that in a second or two. So I actually sized down and I made a straight 14, but that was after trying on the twirl, and I would really strongly recommend that you twirl the bodice in order to see how that fits, just to check your best bust points, to check how it's sitting around your chest area and into your arms, and also how it's fitting on the back, because on this one I did go and put a 1 centimetre round back adjustment in there for a little bit of insurance. I'm not quite sure whether I needed it or not, but I've noticed that that sort of has a bit of a difference on the fit of my dresses, so I went ahead and added that one in. So let's talk about this one then, because I did this one pretty much straight away as it is, and you'll have seen the twirl video. So we've got these lovely puff sleeves, and I've got the shoulder puffs in there. The other thing that I was aware of was that the inside of my fabric for inside here was actually white. So if I show you that colour, it's not printed on both sides. So I felt that would have been a really big contrast if I'd have just hemmed the edge of these frills and then fitted the sleeve frill onto the bottom of the sleeve. So what I actually did with this was I actually cut out double the amount of the sleeve frill, and then I seamed them together on the bottom, so there's a seam on the bottom there, and then I folded them up so the wrong sides were together before I then put my gathering stitches in and then attached it onto the sleeve. And I really feel that that has added to it. Now, although this was a corduroy fabric, the frill is quite prominent, but I don't think it detracts from the dress at all, and I really like to see that lined sleeve in there. And I didn't want to use a contrast fabric, which of course you could do if you wanted to make it something lighter. I also found that on the shoulders here, I'm quite narrow shouldered anyway, but I found that I needed to add a little bit extra here. So I actually went into my seam allowance and only did 0.5 centimetre seam allowance on the very top of the sleeve head here, but then did take out the 1.5 centimetres around the underarm, and that worked really nicely. On this one, I just did the shoulder darts here, and then again at the waistline here, and I didn't add that extra room into the back. It has got an invisible zip down the back, and this one is a faced version, which I'll show you that inside in a second. But otherwise the construction was exactly the same as it would be in the instructions, and it went together really easily. The darted bodice does come together quickly with the skirt, and I actually do think that this will look beautiful as a summer dress as well. So if you wanted to do it as a sleeveless dress, leave off the sleeves and the frill and leave off the ruffle at the bottom, and then you could then wear that as a summer dress, and I think that would be really nice as well, the way that the bodice is fitted. The other thing that I did do on this one here, and which you might have seen on the video, is that on the skirt is slightly A-line, and I measured in 2 inches on each side of both the front and the back panel on those side seams, and I took it in, so I took a wedge out, starting off at 2 inches and going to nothing about hip height, and that took out some of that fullness, that A-line at the bottom, and narrowed the silhouette for me. Because I'm slightly narrow shouldered, then I didn't want that really big, not really big because it wasn't a really big one, but that fuller A-line shape before then you had the frill. So I did that. The other thing that I did do was that on the bottom frill, the designer wants you to cut out 3 sections in order for it to fit onto your fabric. But because I'd narrowed that skirt in slightly, I took the pattern piece for the bottom frill where you should cut 3 and on the fold, and I only cut 2 on the fold, but I made them width of fabric instead, because I just wanted I didn't want to have that split of so if you join 3 together, you're not going to get a symmetrical seam hitting your seam allowances, and I just wanted on this skirt where the side seams are just to be one join there and no join along the centre front or the centre back, and I do think that worked really well, and the frill is quite full as well. So I do think that if you want a slightly less full look on your dress, you could quite easily still keep it at that 2 inches extra either side on your front and your back, and and keep that width, and then still have a slightly less frill, because it is quite a full frill, which looks really good and luxurious, but it may not be the aesthetic that you're looking for. So let me just turn this one inside out and I'll just show you the inside. Okay, so this is the inside of the dress. We've just got this facing that lies flat around the neck, and then we've got the darted bodice, and you can see that contrast now between the inside and the outside that I didn't, of the fabric, of the print of the fabric, that I didn't want in my sleeve, so that's why I double lined those. You can also see the effect of the shoulder puff here. These ones are in silk organza, and that's what gives the drama and makes sure that your sleeves heads stay up and stay full for you and give you that impact. The other thing that I did as well was I popped in some fusible interfacing. So I followed the top of the sleeve head before I gathered it, but then I did this zigzag design on here so I didn't have a hard line around the edge of my sleeve, and that way then it just made it just fall a little bit softer. But as you can see, that frill there really wants to stick up, and that's what gives you the volume on the inside. I popped my little handmade by label in there, and then I've got my invisible zip. But the other thing that you'll notice as well is hopefully is this grosgrain ribbon around the waistline, and I have taken to putting that into all of my dresses now, where possible. Well, I won't say where possible, but if I remember in time. And what it is, it's an inch wide grosgrain ribbon, either in black or in white, depending on what colour I'm sewing with. But I actually sew it onto the waist seam. So it actually goes onto this waist seam all the way around, and what it does is it absolutely, the grosgrain ribbon has got no give in it whatsoever. It's flexible, so when you're wearing it you don't notice it's in your dress, but what it means is that when we tend to sit down and we tend to spread at the waistline slightly, and that can put pressure either on the darts or on the seam line at the waistline, and sometimes you get that kind of pulling, don't you, pulling effect on your seams. It takes that away because the grosgrain ribbon takes all of the pressure of you spreading, and that won't budge, and so that stays rigid for you, or stays put for you. And that's what you can see there, is I've just attached that onto that waist seam, and that then provides that absolute insurance that that seam isn't going to pop, or it isn't going to stretch over time and then make it unsightly, I suppose, or spoil the fabric. So yeah, everything's all there. I used my overlocker to finish it off, and it gave a nice finish for that one. The other dress that I'm wearing, I actually put I lined the inside of this one, so I'll just switch the dresses over and then I'll be able to show you the inside of that one. Okay, and so what we can see here is that I've made the dress still with the face lining. I still made the facing, but attached that onto my lining, because I do think that gives you a really nice finish around the neckline edge. You've got no chance of seeing the lining come popping straight out, and I did understitch that as well as it says to do in the instructions. But I've lined all of the bodice and then went down into the skirt, but I only lined it, if I can lift it up, as far as the top of the frill. I think I added an inch onto this lining from the bottom of the skirt. I still took that 2 inches in at the side on this one, on them, both of them, to take that narrow down the skirt. But that then meant that the lining's just gone slightly lower than the seam attaching the frill round, and I quite like the way that that looks now. I think it looks quite nice. And I hand stitched both hems as well on this fabric because it was slightly lighter weight, and I didn't want that machine edge going all the way round. I wanted it to be hand stitched, but it did take a while to do so just bear in mind with that. You can still see the sleeve puffs that I've done in this dress as well, and also you can see that zigzag for the fusible interfacing that I put onto the back there. On the back here again we've got the lovely lining, and if I lift this lining up, then you'll see that again I have added that grosgrain ribbon into that waist seam as well to give that that extra structure just on that waist point. And as you can see, you can't see it at all when you're wearing it, but it, as I say, it just stops you having to worry about those the darts opening up slightly, or that fabric fraying at that point. But that worked really well. It's not my neatest lining I've ever put in, but I'm recovering from COVID, or I've recovered from COVID, but I'm still not 100%, and I wanted just to do some selfish sewing where I just didn't have to record anything. I could just get on with it and and just do the sewing and enjoy that, and it helped get my concentration back and just get my focus back into the game. So you know, I'm really pleased that it was something I didn't think I was going to have time to do, and then I have managed to pull them off. I absolutely love both dresses. I think this one with the corduroy is slightly heavier weight, but it just holds its shape very nicely and adds that drama. Because I live in southern Spain, then the frills around the sleeves and around the bottom, and then the nice puffy sleeves are absolutely the aesthetic for over here for occasion wear. And you'll see the ladies dress quite flamboyantly is wrong, but with verve, they've really got that sense of style that they enjoy wearing, and so this gives me a bit of a sense of that, and it certainly does make me feel really nice when I'm wearing it. So I'm really pleased to have made these dresses so that I've got them here. So I just wanted to give you a quick rundown really of what I'd made and how I'd made it. As I say, this one was in a linen viscose, so you can see how that fabric works. I do think that the corduroy was slightly more forgiving in terms of the way that it's holding and skimming over my tummy, so where I would say problem areas or areas that I like to try and disguise a little bit more. So over here the fabric seems to skim a little bit better than the viscose does. So I did let out the skirt slightly, so I went down to a 0.5 centimetre seam allowance down the side there rather than the 1.5 centimetre seam allowance that that would normally be done. But I can always take it in if I need to, but I've got a little bit more I can take out if I want to. And again, that was just adjusting that fit. This one did have that that 1 centimetre upper back extension in it, and also I took 1 inch out of the skirt on this one, but left the frill the same length, so I wanted that slightly longer frill. And I think that all worked really well, and again it's just tweaking that pattern and just making it your own. So I hope to inspire you to have a go at making your very own Fabric Godmother peony dress. I really think it is a beautiful date night dress, an anniversary dress, Christmas dress, or even just a mother of the bride or a wedding guest kind of dress, because I think I got these out of 3 meters of fabric, and you know, it fitted beautifully. And as I say, I've really enjoyed wearing it. It is a quick sew, depending on how you are with gathers and ruffles, because the gathers and the ruffles did slow things down a little bit, but in terms of everything else, then it just went together like a dream. So I will definitely be looking out for more Fabric Godmothers patterns in the future, because I think that her design and that aesthetic has worked really well, and I'm really enjoying wearing the dresses. So I just want to say a really big thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. I hope I've included enough detail for you. It's always difficult to know what you want to know about a dress or not, but hopefully just seeing the inside, seeing the outside, seeing how it walks on those 12 videos, you can get an idea of how that fits, and I'll have put my measurements up so you can have a look at those as well. Okay, so have a great day everybody. Click the subscribe button if you can, and give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this. I'd love to have you along, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care everybody. Bye.